Termites, it's 9/11. How are we feeling? How's everybody doing out there in California? You guys have been bad termites. Not everybody. Lockdown 3 weeks. Gavin Newsom, who they caught at a party. That doesn't seem very fair, does it? He was a very bad termite. He said he didn't know it was going to be like that. Well, you got to leave then. You can't stay, Gavin. Right? I think somebody in Texas, too, traveled, the governor, somebody, another bad termite, and then telling everybody else they can't do that. You can't do that if you're in a leadership position. No, we can't. What are we drinking? How about this special edition, limited edition, Bailey's apple pie? Now, normally I would say to you, I don't think you need Bailey's to be improved. I think it's wonderful. My grandpa used to really like it. But why not try a little apple pie? What else do we have to do during these times? You could be thankful you didn't have to grow up like Loretta Lynn. You could do that. That's something to be thankful for. A lot of hitting, a lot of throwing objects, a lot of unresolved anger, maybe. What else? What else do I have, termites? Not a whole lot. I'm very cozy with the fire. Finally is working like it should. Like I always have it on because it looks cozy, but is actually putting out heat that is appreciated at this point because it's cold. It's going to rain here all day tomorrow. All right, well, let's just get back into it because we're getting good. We're getting into another incident. It's just one incident after another. Her friend came out to visit. And then she was saying, who knows, that's probably what, everything was going downhill out in Washington, and maybe that's what Dude got to thinking about her singing for money, because they definitely don't have any money. Money is not at a premium. In 1959, not long before I started singing, something happened that opened my eyes about me and Dew and about the way other people live. It was a little old black and white television. Dew bought it on time. Oh, layaway, I think she means. And we was still paying off it when we finally left Washington. Some people sometimes laugh about how unrealistic Leave It to Beaver, Ozzie and Harriet, and Father Knows Best was, but I wasn't laughing when I saw it the first time. They seemed like they were living in heaven. I'd always thought it must have been Mommy and Daddy's marriage that was the weird one. So many of Dew's friends run around on their wives and drank that I thought I slid right into that. So many of Dew's friends run around on their wives and drank that I slid right into belief that that was our life, just like everyone else's. No, not everybody else is doing that. No. I started studying the families on those shows, especially during the times when Dew was off for 4 weeks at a time, hauling logs or hauling hay. I saw the families on these programs and started getting the feeling deep down inside of me, a notion, as we call it, a feeling that we were the ones who were weird. Well, a little bit. You're not in the Kentucky holler no more. It was the way Dew and me was living that was different. Oh, sure, I know now that those shows glossed over everyday problems. Yeah, I mean, that wasn't real either. But back then, what I saw was a clean, safe place where men didn't bust 100 jars of green beans. Yeah, they probably wouldn't have put that on Leave It to Beaver. All of a sudden, what was her name, the mom? I don't even remember. She just started, or the husband, I don't remember his, Walter? Wally? Or was that the son? I don't know. No, all I know is I watched Leave It to Beaver, some of them, but I was awfully little, but nobody threw shit. A place where wives like me didn't knock their husband's teeth out. Nope, nobody did that either, and hope he didn't kill them over it. I wanted to live like the people on that television screen. Well, yeah, at least there's some light here. There's a little light. Chapter 8. Whisper and say. Whatever else our marriage was back in them days, and whatever you think about Dew's hard-headed ways, I know this. Without Dew and his drive to get a better life, there would have been no Loretta Lynn country singer. Well, now you don't know that, though, because what if you'd been singing in the holler, and then they had a bar, and then you went down to that bar and you started singing there? It could have happened there, too. Sometimes people want to rationalize things that I don't think necessarily should be rationalized. He pushed and shoved me every step of the way, starting with the time he bought me that harmony guitar at Sears and Roebuck. And he told me to learn how to play the guitar and sing. I would have never done it on my own. Shy isn't the word for what I felt on stage. Terrified is more like it. I mean, it took courage to sing just for Dew. Dew, who thought I could sing better than Kitty Wells. I'm not saying I could. I'm just saying Dew thought so. Dew come home one day and he said he'd got me a job. I thought that meant another job like cleaning a house or cooking or something like that, but he didn't. He'd gone and got me a job singing inside a tavern in Blaine, Washington. Well, you could have gone over to Knoxville. I don't know why this couldn't have. Or where in Kentucky? Louisville? Lexington? Out of the holler? Sure. Blaine, Washington, right on the Canadian border. I'd never been inside a tavern, and we know she can't drink. She vomits. 3 drinks of beer, she's vomiting, and then he puts her head in the sink. So don't drink. And I never sang in public. And he'd gone done got me a job. I was going to be singing with the Penn brothers, John and Marshall, and their group, the Westerneers. I always sang to the kids, but singing in public had never entered my mind. That was for people like Kitty Wells and Ernest Tubb. And I didn't even know one song all the way through. That's the problem. Everybody knows parts of a song, but nobody knows, including myself, but nobody knows the whole song. There's something in my Baileys. Maybe that's apple pie. I ain't scared to try it, though. Well, tastes like apple pie Baileys. It's good. I still probably would rather the regular Baileys, but if you like apple pie, I say, yeah, I vote yes on that. And good for them for thinking of it. I told him I didn't want no job singing in front of people, and he told me he'd let me know what I wanted. I argued and cried and carried on. I love carried on. Carry on's a catch-all for just bad behavior. I carried on until you stopped carrying on. Just carrying on. But Dew got his way, just like he always did. I went off with Dew to sing at the tavern and begged him all the way to change his mind, but he wouldn't hear of it. He was determined that other folks were going to hear me sing. Maybe he wanted their opinion, but I doubt it. Whenever Doolittle made up his mind, he didn't seek nobody else's opinion. Me and 3 or 4 musicians all sang, and our sound was picked up by the microphone. In other words, each instrument didn't have its own microphone. The people were dancing and yelling, and most of them was drunk, so they really wasn't listening. I was glad about that. I sang into the microphone and looked at my feet. I wouldn't raise my head to face the crowd, but I knew they were there. Yeah, you're going to know. You can look at the floor the whole day long, but you have a sense there's people out there, and you have to not care. And there's a feather. Look, I guess from my pillow. That's good luck, right? You're going to know people are there. These people were dancing, yelling, as though they weren't really listening. I wouldn't raise my head. I knew they were there just a few feet away, but I could hear them. Then after every song, I'd turn my back to the crowd. While one time in Austin, Mitch Hedberg did his entire set, 30 minutes, with his back to the crowd, and he did it to the wall, and it worked. I'd never seen anything like it. I don't know what the matter was, but it worked. I don't think that would work for me, but it worked for him because he was weird, and his jokes were funny enough that they were weird enough that it all worked. But it's the only time I've ever seen that. I did not see Loretta Lynn, so hopefully she got past that. Then every song, I turned my back to the crowd. I just couldn't face the people. I was so scared. I didn't even want to walk through the crowd and use the bathroom. Also, I was embarrassed to think people would know what I was doing. "Do," I whispered in his ear. "I'm dying to pee. Walk me out to the weeds out back. Nobody won't see me back there, and I won't have to talk to nobody." "Woman," he said with disgust, "you're ignorant." Now, if you're from the backwoods, you don't say ignorant. You say ignorant. Ignorant. Nert. N-E-R-N-T. Nert. "You're ignorant. Get your ass to the ladies' room and use it." I can't go to the ladies' room, Dew. Everybody will think I'm peeing." He walked away from the stage, came back with a glass of tomato juice. He told me to drink it, and I'd really need to pee. I finally gave in, and Dew took me to the ladies' room. What happened next is something I ain't talked about much, but I'll tell it now. The first person to hit on me at a show was another woman. What? We got a lesbian up in Blaine, Washington at the Hoot and Holler? Well, after I went to the bathroom and stepped out of the stall, a woman approached me and she said she liked my singing. That embarrassed me, and I couldn't think of what to say. But then she told me how much she liked my outfit. It was much easier for me to talk about sewing than singing. "I made it myself," I said. "Let me see how it's made," she said. She started looking over the dress, feeling around at the seams, touching me. I guess I mistook that glint in her eye for interest in my sewing talents. "Well, aren't you not really getting to the point here?" "Oh, sure," I said. "I didn't realize the woman was undressing me. I thought she was trying to figure out patterns. I was dumb as a post. My jumper was halfway off, and I was halfway undressed when Duke kicked the door down. He saw me half-stripped, grabbed the woman, and slung her out the door into the crowd. 'Why'd you do that, Dude? I was just showing that woman how I made this here jumper.' Dude told me to get myself together and get myself back on stage. I had no idea why he was mad. He would never tell me either. Wasn't until I got to Nashville to the Grand Ole Opry that I'd learned what was going on that night. When I was playing the Opry, I started writing songs with a woman who was a lesbian. Shoot, I didn't even know what that word meant. You'd never guess she liked women by the way she acted, and she didn't never come on to me at all. Finally, a close friend from the Opry told me to stop bringing the woman to the show. People are going to start talking about you and that friend of yours," he said. "What do you mean?" I asked. "She's a regular down at the Jungle Club." "Wow, the Jungle Club," he said as his eyes kind of squinted. "The Jungle Club." "So? The Jungle Club didn't mean nothing to me. It's a homosexual hangout. That word didn't mean nothing to me either." It's tough getting through to Loretta. I got to tell you, there's been a lot of clues, and she ain't picking up on none of them. Then I showed up with the woman again, and he explained it all to me. I nearly fainted. I ran right back and told my old friend that what this opera star had said about her in the Jungle Club. She laughed. "You just go ask him what he was doing at the Jungle Club." Good answer. How you know where I was if you weren't there yourself? Or who do you know that was there? Now, in reality, I don't give a flip about who somebody wants to fall in love with, and I stayed friends with that woman to this day. Well, good for you, not judging, just moving on. What do you care? Exactly. Here's something else I didn't explain at all in Coal Miner's Daughter. She left a lot out of Coal Miner's Daughter. Probably not enough time. They could have done a two-parter, though. I'd watch this. Wouldn't you guys watch this? Let's make this movie, Woman Enough, just to see the green bean fight. Just to see somebody with a can of green beans going, "Fuck you," and throwing them and watching them explode. And then to watch her knock his teeth out, because Tanya got her teeth knocked out like Glenn Campbell. So it's kind of a comeuppance in the karma world of men hitting women that finally a woman got to punch through and boom, out forever. This is something else I didn't explain in Coal Miner's Daughter. I started my own band a couple months after I started working at the Penn Brothers, and here's why. They was tired of paying me $5 a show and was fixing to fire me. The steel player, Roland Smiley, who we called Smiling Old Steel, warned me and said that if I left, we could start our own group. So I left and we put together a little combo. My brother Jack was living in Washington by then, so he played lead guitar and I was on rhythm. Roland came in with the steel. The steel guitar is what she means. We billed ourselves as Loretta's Trailblazers, and we got us a paying job at Bill's Tavern. I had to make some money. After all, me and Dude was paying babysitters. That's right, who's watching the children? I'm surprised the children aren't just watching themselves. Why not? What worse could they do than throw green beans or 100 jars of green beans around the goddamn house? I kept singing in those old dives in Washington because Duke kept making me. I would have been a whole lot happier if he got me steady work and let me stay home with my kids without having to work myself. But Duke had decided that I was a professional singer. Duke heard that Buck Owens, who sang for one of the rowdiest bars in Tacoma, Washington, was running a talent contest. So we went to see Buck about getting a chance to perform. Buck told Duke it was impossible because he'd already overbooked. Duke kicked up a storm about how far we drove. Finally, Buck let me sing. I was scared to death, but I'll be doggone if I didn't win that night. I got a watch for Dew as the prize. Well, you didn't need to be doing that. He got enough shit. You ain't got nothing. Take the cash. That's what I would have done. Of course, he'd probably hit me for it. Then I went a block down the street and entered another talent contest where I won myself a watch. Well, that's all coming around. But like a lot of things in the music business, it didn't last long. I think it broke down in about 3 days. Funny thing was about that talent contest was something happened later, that happened years later. I was on a 1997 Ralph Emery TNN special, and they got Buck to do a live appearance through a satellite feed. Buck got on and told me he had a crush on me for all them years. Buck, I didn't know that, I said. Yep, he said, but we had 2 problems. My wife and your husband. We just laughed. I was afraid Buck would have had his hands filled with dew because he was an awfully jealous person, but maybe he knew how easy it was to cheat, or maybe he wondered what I'd start thinking, what is good for the goose is good for the, what is good for the gander is good for the goose. I got a lot of stories to tell you about times Dew got jealous of the artist I work with. All it took was for some old boy to look at me twice or say something about me, except for Farron Young. Farron was a different story. We was sitting at home watching Ralph Emery's Nashville Now show one of those nights in the early 80s, and Farron Young was his guest. Ralph asked Farron who'd he want to take on a date if he was stranded on a desert island. Farron never missed a beat. A case of beer, a bottle of whiskey, and Loretta Lynn, he cracked. Dew laughed till his face turned red. He loved Farron and knew there wasn't any danger of him trying anything with me. Well, if I'm Loretta, I ain't going if you have a case of beer and a bottle of whiskey, because I think we've all seen what happens when that goes down. Green beans start a-flying. That's right. Here's a story that will explain why Dew could laugh at one of Farron's wisecracks. I went on a lot of package shows with Farron, and once in the mid-'60s, he was headlining. A bunch of us had gathered in his room after our show. There was a crowd of both men and women, musicians, artists, backup singers. A little bit before it was time for him to go, Farron jumped on and announced, "Ladies, I'm fixing to drop off my laundry. So for those of you who don't want to see that, I'm drop my laundry. So those of you who want to see, better hit the door." Of course he meant he was going to be in his underwear while changing britches. He turned to me and didn't even ask. "Loretta," he said, "hit the door." My feelings was hurting until Dew explained to me it was Farron's way of showing me respect. Dew got a big kick out of him ordering me out like that. Farron was another who used to drink and raise Cain. That's another. There, he marked that down as hillbilly statement. I know raising Cain means raising hell, but what does that mean to these people? Probably different than others. Raising Cain. I don't know, he done jumped out a window. Like crazy shit. Not like, oh, you got a little rowdy. No. When they say raising Cain, God knows he probably set shit on fire, but he was always a gentleman around me. The watch I won on Buck Owens' show might have not run long, but that show was a real important part in my getting my singing career going. The show was broadcast in Canada, where Norm Burley of Zero Records heard me sing. He contacted us and asked if I wanted to make a record. I didn't even want to sing in public, but I got really excited that somebody thought I was good enough to make a record. He had heard me sing Whispering Sea on the Buck Owens show, and it had a special meaning for him. His wife had died, and he went to a rock in front of his home every night on the Pacific Ocean to talk to her spirit. In my song, Whispering Sea, I wrote about sitting down by the sea and it whispering to me about an old love affair that used to be. I think Norm must have cried when he heard that line. People were moved to emotion real easy in them days. What? I'm still that way. I tear up at a sad song in a minute. In fact, I think most people would be better off if they were more emotional. Well, maybe in this family we could tone it down a little. I'm just saying, let's not get to the anger part where we throw things and knock people's teeth out, because that's not funny when you get the bill. It's not funny at all, and it wasn't that healthy. But you can never let yourself drown in them tears. That's where the hillbilly comes in. You can't be sad for that long. You can be sad for like X amount of time, and then no, you got to move on. So I told Norm that whenever I cried too long, I thought about what God said to Aaron and his continued grief over the death of his two sons. You might remember that in the Bible, nope, I wouldn't, because I'm Catholic and we never opened it. They burned to death for going into a tabernacle while wearing shoes. God told Aaron he cried long enough and to stop moping. I don't think God would use the word moping. Do we? Maybe. I bet it says something else in the Bible. That's what he said in so many ways anyway. There you go. God, moping? No. I thought about those words over a lot of years, and sometimes I have to give myself a little reminder. You've cried long enough. Quit moping. When does sadness turn into moping? I don't know. I think that's for each individual to decide when sadness turns into moping. Now, in my house, according to my father, less than 24 hours. If you cry longer than that, you need medication. Jack's not one for moping, that's for sure. All right, termites, are you cozy? Do you have some Baileys for the holiday season? I don't usually have except around Christmas because it's fattening, but it's delicious. Okay, the tree's lit. Maybe I'll show you guys different ornaments every time too. What's this one? The Mirage. The first time I headlined there, I bought an ornament. Isn't that adorable? There's the casino. I hope that opens again at some point. What is this one? Montreal. Well, they have the Montreal Comedy Festival in English and in French, except the French part really isn't stand-up. It's weird art. A lot of dancing, a lot of puppets. How about this one? What do we got here? I don't know. Somewhere in Colorado or Canada maybe. I don't know. And there's my milk one. Why? Ron got me that because me and Ron are the only two adults that I am aware of that love whole milk and order whole milk in public only to be mocked and shamed by those we are eating breakfast with. And I'm like, really? What are you ordering milk? What are you, 5? I'm like, I didn't say anything about your French toast, did I? What are you, French? I didn't mock your eggs. Why is milk so weird? All right, termites. Start your Christmas shopping. You don't want to be in a panic and waiting on Amazon on December 24th. That's all I got. T-shirts available, Pubcast and Storytime. I don't know the sizes that are left. I haven't checked. Okay, that's it. Get your sheet up. Get yourself cozy. Know that you're a worthy termite always. You're a good termite. For you termites that are behaving, good for you. For you bad termites, well, just think about it. That's all I got on that. You don't want to get too crazy on these. Pull your sheet up. Are you ready? Night-night, termites.